Hi, I'm Kristen Boggs, Director of the Alabama Albert Schweitzer Fellowship. Thanks for joining me today to learn more about how to apply to our program. This is the third step in the series, so if you haven't already been on our newsletter mailing list and getting the earlier videos, please reach out to me because I want to make sure that you know what to do before this point. All right, so let's take a look here. Again, this video is making the assumption that you've already defined what it is you're passionate about, what health or social determinant of health you really would want to focus on through your Schweitzer Fellowship time. We've also gone over what the parameters are of a project so that you understand sort of the different components and what sorts of questions you need to be forming your answers to now so that you're ready to apply, but also so that you're ready to do the project. So when I think about a partnership, these are three things that come to my mind. One, I think it's important that we recognize that you and the community site that you would be working with for your fellowship project need to have the same goal in mind. And we know a little bit about what their goals are based on their mission statements. But beyond that, we're going to talk a little bit more about how to understand what an agency's efforts are really being directed towards and making sure that your project would aid them in those things that they're working on right now to make sure that it would be seen as something worthwhile for their time and attention. Mutually beneficial. So I think this is really critical, so much so that I'm going to have a separate newsletter come out after this to talk a little bit more about it. But in short, want to make sure that we're thinking about, not only a need defined as we would think of it, but also, again, that the agency thinks that it's important to address at this time, and that the people you'd be working with, those clients or participants, that they also view it as important and that they'd want to join you in your efforts. And then the third thing is roles being understood. So let's take a look at each of these in more detail. So, thinking about who is doing the work that you want to support and who those partners are out there that might therefore align with those shared goals that I mentioned earlier, one place you can start to look is in community needs assessments that have been done. So a lot of the hospitals do a community needs assessment at least every 3 years. It's part of an accrediting process they have to go through. So that's one place to start. I know here in Birmingham, not only UAB, but also like UAB West has their own, St. Vincent's has their own. And if you start to look at them, they're not, extremely difficult to look through, but you'll start to see some patterns. And so you'll be able to tell that, across the city of Birmingham or across Jefferson County where these are located, that maybe diabetes is in the top 3 priority needs that they're wanting to address over the next 3 years. The Community Health Improvement Plan, likewise, is something that I'm familiar with here in Jefferson County through the health department. And so if you are an applicant in another community, I encourage you to look to your health department as well to see what kinds of needs assessments they conduct. And I know locally here, again in Birmingham, this is available online. You may not even have to contact anyone, but definitely if you can't find it online, reach out to them and just ask if they have any sort of, if not called an improvement plan, it might be something about their strategic goals or their strategic plan. There are also United Way offices regionally around our state, and they put together resource guides. And they also run the 211 service, which is a call center that people who need help in any different area can call to get help. I mention that because you can look at 211. It's available online. There's like a database that you can search. And so if you know what topic area you're interested in, you can search and see who's working in that area. If you can't find anything, then you may want to call 211 and just ask them and find out if they know of any agencies that are doing work related to domestic violence in your community. And then likewise, there are some existing collaborations already happening. If you are an applicant in Jefferson County, the 2 or 3 that I know about include the Health Action Partnership. And within that, there are like 5 different priority areas they're working on. And then there's also the Bold Goals Coalition, which in addition to the health goals, they have also some related to education and financial stability. So just to give you an example of what you can learn from looking at these documents, these groups already have defined metrics for their success. And so they may have one large goal, such as the Bold Goals Education group, which says that by 2020, the graduation rate in Central Alabama will be 90%, and every student will graduate prepared for college, career, and life. And so they may, give you a sense of like what they're working on. Okay, college graduation, preparation for career and life. But then they're also going to probably have sub-goals or ways that they break that down. So within, again, that committee, they break it down into pre-K, K through 12, and post-secondary. And then they have their own, kind of sub-metrics that they're working towards, like improving the 3rd grade reading scores or increasing 8th grade math scores, improving the graduation rate and the FAFSA completion rate. So you can look in these and see if any of the goals that they're working with already align with something you're interested in, or vice versa. If you have a particular partner in mind and you know that they're a part of this collaboration, it may give you a better sense of, what is important to them at this time and what they value. And so if you, if you find that there's a group who, at least at the larger level, is interested in the work that you are also interested in, you may or may not be able to get a lot of details about what their current efforts are based on what you can find online. So really the next step is going to be reaching out to any of the leaders of those groups and just trying to ask how you can support their efforts. And usually those meetings are pretty open to the public, and so I would even encourage you to try to see if you can attend one of their upcoming meetings. It'll give you a good opportunity to network and meet with people face to face, to listen to what their current projects are. And right now is an interesting time of the year because a lot of these groups are setting their 2019 goals. And so if you're applying for the 2019 fellowship year, that means you can sort of get a glimpse into what they want to do during that kind of initial part of your year. And then if, beyond just kind of the idea of these collaborations of multiple groups, if you do find one specific community organization that you want to work with, a lot of times the first point of contact may be with the executive director, or if they have a volunteer coordinator, that would be another person you could speak with. Again, just to get a sense of like, what are their needs right now? What are they unable to do that they might be able to expand their capacity if you came in and did it? Just want to put in another plug for Meet and Link. So this is our event coming up on November the 6th, where you can actually, interact face-to-face and brainstorm with some of these community leaders. You can also meet with other applicants. And that's important because they may spur an idea that you hadn't considered before, and you may decide that you want to work together on a project. So please RSVP to let us know that you're interested. I will send you should be receiving the link from me if you're getting this video as a part of the newsletter, or just email me and I'll let you know how to sign up. So I mentioned that another important thing in addition to shared goals was an understanding of roles. So I'm going to talk first about the role of the community site mentor. So I'm not going to read this list of duties to you, but you can look through it. And the ones that I really want to highlight are that, your site mentor is the one who's going to, help shape your project from the very beginning. And then as the year progresses, they're really going to be the person that you can go to if you're running into problems. They're probably your first line person that you can get feedback from. There are a few other things that we ask them, and these duties are outlined in what we call the project plan. So after you're accepted in March, Then in April and May, you work with your site mentor and with a faculty mentor to develop a much more specific format for how you want to proceed over the year. And this includes setting these long-term goals and then setting some short-term benchmarks, determining how you're going to evaluate your project, things of that nature. But that's all to say that this is something that the community site mentor would sign in that document. So I think it's helpful for them to know from the very outset what would be asked of them if they do want to be your site and your site mentor. So again, take a look at these and then just know that there's also a video that I have online for potential community sites. So if they ask you questions and you feel unprepared to answer them and really tell them like, well, yeah, this is what is or isn't involved, I really want to encourage you to try and direct them to our YouTube site where they can watch about a 15-minute video about what it means to be a site mentor. And if they ask you about time, how much of a time commitment it would be, I have put together just a very rough guesstimate, and I do admit this is more of a guesstimate than very accurate, but I would say that most of our site mentors put in about 10 to 20 hours per year. And this is based on the fact that throughout the time that you're working with them to apply and then through your fellowship year, they may invest anywhere from 14 to 16 months. And each month they're probably spending about 30 minutes to an hour talking with you and just helping you, think through problem solving, things of that nature. Then they're also going to be invited to attend our end of the year celebrations at that event. And then we have like an orientation for them at the beginning of the year. So just trying to think roughly once you add all that up together. So if they do ask you that question and you need to give them a rough time frame, you can tell them that it would be about 10 to 20 hours over the course of the whole year and a half of working with you. And then the other thing that I think is really important as you start to develop a partnership with anyone is moderating expectations. And so, I recognize it's a really tough balancing act, first just to find a partner and invest the right amount of time to ensure that they would be on the same page with you. But you and they both need to understand that we also want you to be flexible in your implementation strategy, meaning that what you plan may not work. And so we want everyone to sort of be flexible enough that you are willing to change if it's not yielding the results that you intend. So I'll give an example. We had a fellow who had planned to do walking groups based on her schedule and the schedule of her participants. She picked 6 a.m. to meet at a park, and not surprisingly, people just really couldn't commit to getting up and being there that early. So she had to, kind of regroup and think about other ways to meet people where they were rather than having them come to her. Likewise, if having a monthly cooking class isn't going to change the eating habits of your participants, you may have to decide to add one-on-one coaching calls or text message support or grocery shopping assistance or any number of things. So the strategy oftentimes changes. And so we just want to make sure that you leave some room for adapting the format of your intervention. And again, that's some kind of a mindset that you need to take, but also make sure that your partner realizes that you're going to be evaluating this throughout the year. And if it's not having those intended consequences, you're going to want to change it. And I would say that the benefit of this versus being in like a research study where you've told the IRB, this is what I'm doing and this is the exact plan. So you have that flexibility. So take advantage of it. And again, we want to make sure that no one invests too much time up front, but you can tell them that by early March, you would know whether or not you had been selected. Now, the faculty mentor, I've listed here, what we would be asking of them. This is another person that you should be thinking of right now in terms of one of your partners. But the faculty mentor traditionally plays a smaller role. But despite that, I've estimated here that they may only spend 4 to 8 hours over a year with you. So it is less, but it's not necessarily less important because this person is going to be who you get some subject matter expertise from, and they might be more involved on the front end when you're still planning your project, again in kind of that April, May timeframe. And then as the year progresses, you may just need to go to them occasionally to, like, ask a question by email or have a short meeting in person. But again, there is a YouTube video targeting faculty and kind of letting them know, among other things, but telling them if they were asked to be your faculty mentor, what would that mean? And it, again, lists these things that you see here on your screen as well. And then I would just summarize by saying that ultimately when you're trying to find and develop a partnership, some of the best fit is based on some of these intangible things that you'll just get a sense of when you meet with someone and can decide whether or not you think you'd work well together. And I do want to encourage you, though, to think about being really clear in all of your communications. I say here that, it's better to over-communicate. I don't think they would get annoyed if you, for instance, when you're setting up meetings and following up, you might want to send them, after you've met, you might want to send them notes, just kind of saying, here's what I understood from our conversation, and if I've misunderstood anything, please write me back and let me know. Obviously, you want to make sure and send them any kind of thank you note after you've met. Again, that can be an email, but just make sure you thank them for their time. If you do decide to apply and maybe at one point you're sort of shopping around, follow up and remind them later if you're still interested, or if you've kind of been shopping around and you've decided you don't want to work with them, follow up with them and let them know that, so that you're not leaving them hanging and they're, is this person working with me or not? And then when you've submitted the application, that might be another point just to tell them, hey, it's in, I'll let you know in a few weeks what I find out. And then if you do or don't receive an interview, and likewise after offers are made. So I know that sounds like a lot of points of contact, but just really quick emails will just keep them engaged and aware of what's happening. And so it is okay to sort of shop around at this point. But again, just be upfront with people so that they understand that, you're still a little undecided and you're trying to figure out what's going to be the best fit. All right, so next step, if you haven't already met with me one-on-one, I'm happy to do that. I can give you feedback about your ideas. And this is a link that you can use to just go directly to my calendar and see when you and I are both available. Or just email me and I will be happy to find a time with you. So again, hope to see you all at Meet and Link. Please be sure to RSVP. I'm asking for RSVPs by October 31st so that I have time to order food and plan the tables where we'll do some small group discussion. And there will be a newsletter coming out in about a week that helps you know how to determine if your idea is valuable to the community. So that's about prioritizing and determining not only your priorities, but also the community's. And then there will be that one final video about how to put your ideas on paper for the application and some helpful hints about what to expect during the interview. So thanks for joining me today, and I look forward to continuing to work with you. Bye.